Viewers, the Indian stock market is outperforming expectations. Also, of course, the views of experts, economists. The markets are touching record highs at a time when the Indian economy is being buffeted by wave after wave of COVID. We're just getting over the second wave and there is already talk of a third wave. Many analysts are saying that the outlook is not very positive. But viewers, there are always two views on the Indian economy. One that is harbored by the experts, the economists, and another view that is held by India's big bull, Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, a man who sees things through the prism of instinct, the prism of realism, and of course, an undying optimism and pragmatism. He started out with very little in his hand and he went on to earn billions and billions. And today, viewers, we are going to be hearing from the one man who has always taken a punt when people had advised against it. What are his views on the outlook for India's economy, and what are his views, viewers, at a time when each one of us are hoping to get by making a little bit of money, looking for financial stability? Well, without wasting much more time, let me welcome Mr. Jhunjhunwala on Times Now. Thank you very much for speaking to me, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, and through me and through Times Now to millions of viewers and fellow investors. Let me first begin by asking you, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, a very simple and straightforward question. And this is a question that I find quite fascinating. There seems to be such a mismatch of expectations. You look at the financial dailies, you look at the stock market pages and the Sensex, the Dalal Street, there seems to be a massive party going on. It's behaving as if India's economy is on fire. Why is there this expectation gap? What do you make of it?
Well, don't you think the economy is on fire? You read the news on the Business Standard today. Direct tax collections have gone up from 22,000 to 170,000 in the first 75 days of this year. So now I think the perceptions are totally, different from the realities. Also, the stock market is a discounting mechanism. It's anticipating what it thinks will happen in the future. I think India is on the crossroads of one of its biggest and longest growth stories. And I think people are unnecessary, humanity has faced greater challenges, has faced wars, famines, earthquakes, Spanish flu. So this is a flu. We will fight the war against it, will it, and move ahead. I anticipate India is going to have the roaring 20s of the 21st century after the COVID, just as America had the roaring 20s after the Spanish flu in 1920. That's my feeling, that's my instinct, that's my reading of circumstances, and we deserve to be right. I deserve the right to be wrong.
Now, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, it's very interesting because there are many, of course, and you've heard them. They're in the opposition, they're economists who rip apart the NDA for not managing the economy very well over the last 1.5, maybe even 2 years. Why do you believe they differ so widely from your own perceptions?
Well, to each in his own views and perceptions. You understand, Rahul, this in India is a country, it's an elephant, it's very different to get change here. I think I'm very much satisfied with the economic management by the NDA and especially its social welfare programs and the kind of reforms they have pushed through and they are trying to push through despite all vested interests and opposition. I don't understand what is the opposition to this farm laws. You have nobody to buy potatoes in Bengal at 2 rupees and I don't get potatoes for less than 40 rupees here. So my perception, they're talking about disinvestment, they're talking about the right things, electricity reform, labor reform, mining reform, right? So I think what they have done, the RERA which has come, the IBC, the Jan Dhan accounts, right? The GST, so my perception is totally different from the others. Along with the reality and practicality that, see, India is an elephant, there are always vested interests, it's very difficult to push change, but they're trying their best. And I think they're not believing in any capitalism, any socialism. Modi ji believes in realism.
Now, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, let me just quote an anecdote. In March last year, you sold a lot of your portfolio. By April, May, you turned bullish. Now, that was a time when we had one of the severest lockdowns anywhere in the world. And if anything, people were hedging their bets on economy. They had pretty much gone into a mental lockdown. Forget about anything else. But you stayed bullish. Now, why did you do just the opposite to conventional wisdom?
Well, it's very popular to do what's popular in stock markets, but it's not very profitable, let me tell you, my friend. And different people have different perception. And never forget that the greatest opportunities in life come from crisis. The word crisis means opportunity in Chinese. So I think to be good and successful in markets, you got to look at the things the way you look at them and not the way others look at them. And I thought this is a cancer, it's a flu, it's not a cancer. Humanity has faced greater challenges and we will face them. And the valuations were so ridiculous. Telco having a sale of 3 lakh crores, the market cap was 30,000, owned by the House of Tatas, right? Imagine a company like Telco available at 1/10 sales. So risk-reward ratios were so high. I could have been wrong about the future, but I couldn't have been wrong that even if the future was, what I had perceived it to be, I would still make money. And then I bought, and the way the market reacted, that also sent a message. And then I bought further, and that's how it played.
Well, this is not the first time, of course. You started with such a meager amount of money, and there was a time when you were earning crores per day. Now, what is your philosophy? What guides you? Because there are several individuals today, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, who have some savings and they don't know what to do. They are caught in the horns of a dilemma. Dale, na dale, market is overheated, they'll say, or they are warned against, saying there'll be a course correction. How do you square that?
I can't square it. I can tell them what my opinion is, truly and frankly. Then it's for them to do what to do. I'm not their guide, I'm not their advisor. I give my views and then everybody can do what he or thinks right. And my philosophy is to make money the fair and integral way.
So what is it? What is your philosophy? What drives you, sir?
I said to earn wealth in a fair and integral manner. Do what I enjoy what I do. And I can take the horse to the water, I can't make him drink.
What is your... Sure, that is of course, again, very realistic and pragmatic point of view. What is your target for the Sensex and Nifty? Where do you see it?
Well, I can predict the direction, I can't predict the depth. I can tell you, I feel the Nifty and Sensex will go up, but whether the Nifty will be 20,000, 17,000, 18,000, only the future will tell us. So I don't try to predict any targets, I have no targets. I understand, that what is the direction, and then you follow the market. And if the market proves you wrong, then always course correct. Churchill has said you have to lose many a war, you have to lose many a battle to win a war. Small battles are not necessarily won. And if you are wrong, you have to gracefully accept it.
Many battles? Gracefully accept, yes, of course. That will, of course, depend also on your own risk appetite, and which is a very important point, viewers. I don't think Mr. Jhunjhunwala is suggesting here for a moment that you go in with your eyes closed. So I want to ask you this, because there are many people who are saying that the markets are on fire right now, they're over hot, and therefore stay away. What do you say to those people who have perhaps not so much to put in, but a sizable amount of their savings at this point?
Well, I have 99% of my wealth in equity. No, we have to see every suit and then cut it. So I can't give some blanket advice, but this has been the problem of the market ever since the Nifty hit 7,500. Everybody thought it's going up, going up, going up, going up. It keeps on going up. So we'll have to sit in the car sometime. Also, there are a lot of individual opportunities which are available. So you will not invest or disinvest necessarily looking at only the Nifty. The mid caps and the small caps have outperformed the large caps.
Mr. Jhunjhunwala, if the economy keeps getting hit by wave after wave of COVID, now we are predicting a third wave. Many people are saying that the pace of vaccinations is slow, so we might be actually stuck in a recurrence of COVID cycles. Will the markets show the resistance that they have demonstrated as of now, going forward, if that were to be the case?
Who knows? We'll see the future when it comes to it. But I don't agree that we're not vaccinating fast enough. And I think by Diwali time or maybe end October, I think everybody in India who needs to be vaccinated or wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated. It's a mammoth task to vaccinate a population of 130 crores. So all those who want to be vaccinated will be vaccinated by Diwali. And I don't think, nobody predicted the second wave and people are talking about the third wave. So I'm taking those predictions with a pinch of salt. And suppose whatever, it's temporary, it's a flu here, it will go away. No company's earnings are permanently damaged. When I invest in a company for 5 years, 10 years, a quarter doesn't make a difference to me.
A quarter doesn't make a difference. Okay. The first wave saw a big fall. There was a correction. You'll recall that. But the second wave, the market zoomed. Now,
even after the first wave.
Why was the behavior different, sir?
Sir, the first wave also, initially the market tanked. But then it took out the old highs.
Sure.
So how can you say it didn't do well? And I think the economy is doing much better in the second wave.
No, I didn't say it didn't do well. I said there was a softening of the market. It fell the first time, but the second wave, it went further up. It zoomed. So why was this scenario so different between the first and the second?
The market took the second wave in its step. Because they had explained in the first wave, we were much better prepared in industrial and agricultural activity. On the second wave, agricultural activity took some hit. So I took the market took all this in its grasp. The profits of the third and the fourth quarter last year, one of the best performance in the last 24 quarters. Last year, I think profits to GDP were 2.5%. I think this year will be close to 5 to 6%. Right? All companies there's good corporate governance. Companies have cut debt. Right? Why will there's good demand? There's very good export demand. Why will companies not perform? And there's vast under-exposure of equity to India, or to equity in India. In America, 30% of household wealth is equity. In India, it's 4%. What are the alternatives to savings? Interest rates are very low.
Now, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, government is coming out with several IPOs. Is it the right time to be doing so? And which are the IPOs that you are bullish on?
See, I don't want to talk of any single companies. The government knows companies coming out with IPOs also coming out with a lot of disinvestment. So the government has formed its policy. It knows, I don't know the inner working of the government and the conditions that are there. So I'm not to advise you them, and I can't give you advice when to do an IPO, when not to do it. Or when to do its investment, not to do it. But they're very inclined to do this investment, and they're ready to face political opposition to that.
Now, what are some of the sectors that, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, you feel are going to be sunlit sectors going forward?
Sir, it's a relay race. Sabka chance aayega. So I don't think there, but I am especially bullish on metals and within metals in steel.
What are let's just look at a larger economic perspective here. What do you make of the NDA's economic management over the last year and a half? There have been some people who are critical, others who have said that, look, this is the best that could have been done.
I agree with the second one. That's been good.
So what are the reasons?
Well, first of all, they help the poor. I think the credit guarantee scheme is very good. They did not raise any taxes. They made a good budget. And they are trying to push reform as much as possible, even in these difficult circumstances.
Now, budget policies, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, were designed for an economy, some say, that was not going to be hobbled by COVID. Its focus was on infrastructure growth. Fiscal targets were designed keeping in mind growing demand, consumption. Do you believe that the outlook now needs to change to perhaps cater for a wave 2, possibly wave 3 further disruptions? Or do you think that the government should stay the course?
I think the government should stay the course. If there is a disruption, we'll face it. I don't anticipate any depression, disruption more than a month or two, if any. And we'll be vaccinated by October, November. I think so. I think they will arise herd immunity in India and other countries of the world.
Now, I want to ask you a specific question, sir. And this is a question that has been coming up quite often over the last few months. Many people have said that the government hasn't done enough to insulate the MSME sector. Do you believe this is true? Do you think more needs to be done?
I think they've offered them 3 lakh crores of loans. What else can you do? They've offered them some relief in Provident Fund. See, every sector needs help, right? But I think the 3 sectors which need the most help is aviation, hospitality, and restaurants. I think something needs to be done there.
What would you recommend? What are the thoughts that you think should be sort of taken on board to revive some of these 3 sectors? These are important sectors. They generate a lot of money, obviously a large number of services, employment, etc.
No, I think as soon as everything opens up, these 3 industries will boom. But the wounds that they have incurred during the period of the COVID, they need some financial help there. I have no doubt once the COVID opens up, the country opens up, you won't get an airline seat, an hotel room, or a space in a restaurant. But people are so frustrated of being at home. So I think they need help.
I understand that, but what is the specific... what kind of help would they require, these sectors, right now?
Rahul, the specifics are worked out by industry experts. I'm not competent to work.
Let me ask you a couple of more questions. Divestment is a key area that government is looking for revenue. Now, Is there appetite, sir, at this moment in the private sector, amongst investors, to expand by buying into these PSUs?
I think there will be fierce bidding. And I don't know where the money will come from, but it will come. I think there will be fierce bidding.
You don't think that the government is being too over-optimistic right now?
Not at all. The demand for Indian assets...
Because last year, the government missed its divestment targets, sir. So this year, a lot is predicated to finance the budget, etc., on divestments.
Last year was an exceptional year, Rahul. I see no reason why whatever the government has laid down will not be able to do this year.
When do you see the economy picking up again in an aggressive way? My final question to you, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, just give us a bit of a forecast, according to you, of when we will see this sort of...
I think India will grow double digit this year. And then we'll start next year 6.5, 7. I see it eventually going to 10 in 3-4 years.
And you believe this is going to be India's decade? And we are perhaps going to even overtake China in the next few years, maybe in a decade and a half.
I think 2025.
Why do you believe?
But I think
20-25 years. Why do you believe that this is a positive growth story? It's not going to be impacted by even political uncertainty, etc., that we're here for the long haul.
Until 2024, there is no political uncertainty. Modi ji is going to remain the Prime Minister. I don't see why he should not be re-elected in 2024. 2029, nobody knows. And I am very bullish, Rahul, and I think government's following the right economic policies. And I believe India has come to a crossroads where you will unleash unbelievable growth.
Well, Mr. Jhunjhunwala, thank you very much for speaking to me and through us, of course, to millions of viewers. Thank you very much for sparing the time.